I'm going to be doing my basic gray April kits, layouts of the month layouts. I know it's not April anymore, but I had a really busy April. And we're going to start with 1.5 inch squares of cardstock. You need 6 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch squares of the cardstock, the pattern paper with the heart. And so you're going to line it up on your scoreboard with your 2 points. I'm going to just line them up on this 4 bar here. You can line them up on any bar. And then you're going to score them 1/2 inch in from each edge. So you're just going to score it 1/2 inch. And then you can then flip it around and score at 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch in. And you're going to score all 6 of those, and then you're also going to score on a tremendous amount of the others. You're going to do 6 of this pattern, 6 of this pattern, 6 of this pattern, 6 of this pattern, and 6 of this pattern. And you're gonna score them basically so that you have a little 1/2 inch piece on the sides, and you make these little diamond pieces. So I am going to just score one more. And then I'm going to just cut ahead, because this is extremely repetitive and you don't need to see me do that over and over again. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to take these and you're going to score them to make these little overlapping things, and then you'll just keep going till you've done them all. Alright, so now that I've got all my little pieces folded, I'm going to take a piece of this Kelly green paper, and this is a 4 inch by 12 inch piece, and I'm going to mark a line down the center. Of course, remember, if you purchase this kit from us, you do get all the instructions and measurements and photos that you need to complete these projects. And then I'm going to take just a 1/2 inch line of tape and just run it right down the middle right here. And I can so what we are then going to do is we are going to take these little folded squares and just adhere them in a little row, and you're just going to put the point even with the pencil line and the edge of the square even with each other, and then we're just going to keep adhering them all in a little row until this entire thing is covered. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on fast forward while I do this. Otherwise it'll take a really long time. to start putting together our layout. This is our double page layout for the month of April. And I'm going to start with the word bubble, and I'm going to cut it into an 8-inch piece and a 4-inch piece. And then I'm taking a piece of scrap cardstock. I'm going to take the 8-inch piece and flip it over to the polka dot side and glue it down. And then I'm going to take the 4-inch piece and glue it down speech bubble side. And that way it'll look like it's layered without you actually having to layer, which is always nice. And my scrap cardstock's a little bit bigger than my pattern paper. So I'm going to make sure I line up the pattern paper pieces with each other, and then I can just trim off the scrap cardstock at the bottom. And then we're going to decorate this a little bit with some faux stitching. And we're just going to make 2 straight stitching lines. Of course, if you also have a sewing machine and like to sew on your layouts, you could use real stitching here. And then that would save you some time and give you added texture and dimension. But this way we have the impression that these 2 pieces are sewn together. And we don't actually have to have a sewing machine. So I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to start, and I'll do about 10 stitches in one direction, and then I'll go ahead and turn it over again and do another 10 stitches. The reason that I want to work from the outsides to the center is because that way, if there's one stitch that has to be too long, or another stitch that has to be too short, or we have a funny gap or anything like that, that's not going to happen at the top or the bottom where people are more likely to be looking. It's going to happen in the middle somewhere. People are not likely to be looking. Alright, so now I'm just going to take this to my trimmer and trim off that edge. For the next side of your layout, what you're going to do is you're going to just add the second sheet of your happy paper, your happy speech bubbles, and then you're going to take 2 10.5 inch by 1.5 inch pieces of this paper here, and you're going to glue them to the top of the page like so. And just make sure when you glue them down that you're going to put the numbers facing the right direction. And you're going to adhere them about 1.5 inches down from the top of the page. And I can use the row of polka dots here to make sure that mine is straight. I didn't trim this piece down. Okay. And then you're going to take 2 10.5 inch by 5 inch pieces of this hexagon paper and adhere that down below. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on both sides. And then for your next step, you are going to take 2 11 inch by 1/2 inch pieces of the yellow polka dot, And you're just going to cut straight into the end to notch it. One end on each one.
Oh yeah, apparently it was not in there.
You're going to go ahead and you're going to just stick that down to the page, right over where they're going to join here. And then it should hang off the edge a little bit. And then you're going to notch the other side and adhere it down as well. And just to make this easier on myself, I'm just going to turn this like so. And I'm just going to rub with my hand to get any extra adhesive off. ATG comes off really easily. And then for your next step, you're going to take two little strips of the green and you're going to do the same thing. So you're going to adhere them in a row up here. And they, in the directions, they want you to cut a notch in the tail, and I just think, I mean, it's so tiny, I don't think that it matters. You can if you want to, but it's not going to show up on the layout as a notched tail, really. These are just going to, see, you can't tell that it's a notched tail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deviate from the instructions a little bit, and I'm just going to adhere this green piece flush with the edge of the blue, just so that it makes a little bit of separation in between the numbers and the polka dots. So I'm not going to worry about trying to notch it, turn it into a banner. I'm not going to try and cut it into any specific piece or anything. I'm just going to run a thin line of glue. I'm going to make this flush. And then I'm going to just run that like so. And then I'll trim off the excess. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other side. So I'm just going to run a thin line of glue right along that yellow piece, and the glue I'm using is called Best Glue Ever, and it just has an ultra fine nozzle and doesn't dry very quickly. So actually it doesn't dry at all. It's more like when it's totally dry, it's like a glue dot. And so I'm gonna put that down. And that's going to just give a nice little green pop of color and separation in between there. And now I started the video by making these pieces. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere them right there. So I am doing this layout a little bit out of order because they have you making these pieces next, which I have already done. I'm going to go ahead and add them. And then we have that nice little quilted accent at the bottom of the page there. And this is pretty much the base of our layout. The only thing left is we're going to add a scalloped border out of that green cardstock. So I'm just going to use my scallop punch. I'm going to use one by Stampin' Up. You can also use one by American Crafts. They have one. Fiskars has one. And I'm just going to punch the whole thing And then when I'm done punching it, I'm going to take it to my trimmer and I'm going to cut off like a little inch strip or so, and or just enough so that there's just the scallop showing, and adhere that in the same fashion I adhered the glue earlier. So and like everything else, you're going to make this 10.5 inches, and it just goes right down here. So I'm just going to run my glue again and stick this down. And then I'm just gonna punch another one. So I'm gonna cut the video and I'll be back once that's adhered. The next step in my layout is to add a strip of journaling paper, but unfortunately I cut my first sheet of journaling paper wrong. So instead of having a vertical piece, I have a horizontal piece. So the piece that I have left looks like this, and it's supposed to go on the layout like this, and then you journal. So what I'm going to do is, there's a second sheet of that paper that's used as the base of the single page layout. You can see it here. And since this yellow piece covers most of it, I'm going to cut out the center of this to get my piece. And so all I'm going to do is measure the yellow piece. And the measurements are in your guide, but it's 9.5 by 10. And so what we want to do is give ourselves at least a 1/4 inch to adhere it all the way around, and it's better if we have a little bit more. So I'm going to add an inch to this measurement so that that's where I'll cut at. So subtract an inch. So let's say I want to make my cut so that I have an 8.5 inch by 9 inch square in the middle. So 8.5 inches. So what you do to figure out how much to cut in, you're gonna subtract 8.5 from 12, which is 3.5, and half of 3.5 is 1 3/4. So on the two sides, you're gonna come in 1 3/4 inches. And then with the 9, again, you're gonna subtract that from 12 and get 3 inches, and then divide that in half, which is 1.5. So on the top and bottom, you're going to come in 1.5 inches. So I'm going to make those marks, and I'm just going to use a pencil. And so my marks are going to be at 1 3/4 on the two sides. And you can have your marks go all the way to the top, part way, whatever you want. 1.5 on the top and bottom. Okay. And now you're just going to cut that, and I'm going to use a trimmer. I don't see my trimmer, so I'll just use a craft knife. So I'll just use a ruler and a craft knife. Now, the good thing about cutting, drawing my lines all the way is that I now know where it begins and starts. So I know where exactly to begin and end my cuts to make sure that that center comes out cleanly. And so when you next see this piece again in my next video where I'm going to do the single page layout, then you will see that this piece has a hole in it, and you'll know where that came from. All right, so there's that, and then all I'm going to do to this piece is I'm going to do two things to make this workable. And one is I'm going to take 1/4 inch double-sided tape. This is Miracle tape. You could use ATG, score tape, whatever. And I'm just going to put it around the perimeter. I made my hole come in 1 inch, so it's a 1/2 inch bigger, or the hole is a 1/2 inch smaller all the way around than my paper. So this 1/4 inch tape will allow me to, I'll just peel this tape up and then position my piece, and I'll know that the adhesive is not going to overlap or do anything. So had I put the adhesive on my yellow piece, you know, I might have adhesive coming through this hole, and then this would stick to the page protector or the next layout, and I don't want that, so that's why I put that there. Now, if this is feeling a little unstable to you and you would prefer it to not have a hole, you can always take a piece of cardstock. I'm going to use this brown. I don't really like this brown, and I somehow ended up with a ton of it. And you can just go around the hole here. And you can stick this to your scrap cardstock. And then that way, you know, it's just like a normal piece and the layout's smooth on the back. And then you don't have to worry about this tape in that instance. You can just glue things right down to this like it's a normal sheet. So you'll see all this, see how the tape is covered. So this will all come back again in the next video where we're going to do our single page layout. Now, this piece is going to go on our layout like so. Okay, and it goes flush with this green here, and it ends at this yellow. So that's the length of it. So you just want to mark where that is, and I actually have a line where that is, so I can just cut it on the line. Now, in terms of gluing this down, it overlaps this the layers of paper at the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of tape and put it where I think that's going to go. Yep. And then once I have one piece of tape in position, I can use the line on the hexagon paper to get my other piece of tape in place. And then you want to go ahead and put your journaling on it before you glue it down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, when you go to do your journaling, you're going to journal on 5 inches of this. So you want to go ahead and just mark that for yourself. So I'm going to just put this on my grid and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. And then I'm just going to use that same Post-it from earlier to just put that as a spacer. And then you have the tape that came in your kit. And go ahead and add 3 pieces, like 1, 2, 3, kind of in a triangle. And I'm gonna shorten that piece up a little bit by just sticking it back on the, and then if you want, you can layer some of the little pieces that you cut off on top. You just want to have a little bit more of a layered look. Or you can put it right underneath. Like so. And then that way you can go ahead and do your journaling around it. And so I'm going to go ahead and put this on fast forward and do that. I'm going to use VersaFine ink and stamp the date. And I didn't stamp the year very well, so I'm just going to go back in here, cover up, and then I stamp the year again. It looks a little messy, but it's a date stamp, so that doesn't really matter. So now I can take my layout here and add this on. So I'm going to peel the tape from the foam here. And then I'm going to just use a little glue dot on the bottom 2 corners. To keep it stuck down here. And then I'm just going to place it flush with the edge. And then it's ready to go. All right. So for the next step, what we're going to do is we are going to start adding our photos, and we want to mat the 4x6 photo onto a green piece of cardstock. Now, I always print my photos in white, and what we need to do when you go to do yours, okay, so here's the layout. So you want to think about, you know, is this photo going to look right with white and then green? And I think that that will look fine. So I'm going to go ahead and keep the white border and then add a green border. And then that's going to go right here. And okay, so now I see a problem with not removing the white is that now the green lines up with the green border at the top and bottom. Oh no, it doesn't. I can position it so it's not totally lined up. So that's okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm just gonna very carefully line it up so that there's a sliver of color here and here. And now I'm going to take my 4 square photos and put them to either side. And so they're just going to be tilted. So I just have to figure how I want them. And I like these two together and these two together. These two. And I'm just keeping the photo here where he's looking straight at the person looking at the layout as close to the center as possible. And then this was the best photo, so it's also as close to the center as possible. Okay. So they go together like so. And then we're going to do some embellishing. And we're going to take this hay card here from the die cut shapes and cut it out. And when I cut a shape like this, I'm going to leave a little bit, I'm cutting around the pink edge, which is the kind of the outline on it. And for the most part, I leave just a little sliver of the blue showing. And I usually turn my wrist on my left hand, my non-cutting hand, more than my right wrist, which is holding the scissors. And then this is going to get adhered up here. So I have to put it part on pop dots and part not on pop dots. And so again, I'm going to just need a strip there too, right in the middle. And put a blue dot here. And then peel up all our tape backing. And I use a lot of tape because of the foam tape because I don't want the die cuts to get bent from pressure put on them by other layouts or embellishments. All right. Okay, so now we're going to take some stickers from the sticker sheet, and that is from the from the sheet that's all by itself, we're going to take the hay and the hello. Sorry, they're from the die cut pack actually, not the sticker sheet. There's a couple hay. Okay. And then from this sheet, that's the speech bubble sheet, we're going to pull some, and it's this red hay here. And if these two are the ones from the instructions are not left at the end, then you can use other ones. I still have the hay, but I don't have the hello. So I'm going to use the howdy instead. And I'm going to turn that one into a flag by just snipping like so. And then there's a small circular yo that I don't have. So I'm going to take this oh my, and I'll use the oh my. I'm just making a little collage of words. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add my little cutouts here to my speech bubble. And then I'm just going to take some pieces of foam tape and tuck them under the stickers at the top so that they don't stick down to the mat and get bent. And that is going to add some interest here to this. And now I'm going to add some letters for wanna play, and you can add that wanna play here like it's shown in the directions, or I'm going to put it right here in this little empty gap here, because my speech bubble ended up a little farther to the right than, and I have this little spot here, so that's where I'm going to add mine. Now, because the adhesive on the waterfall pack was so aggressive, I removed it, all the pieces from it. So all my pieces are now on a separate, in separate bags and sheets, but this comes directly from that. And so I'm going to do my title of Wanna Play. Now, if you don't have pictures about playing, like I have here, and like were used in the sample, you can make your title anything you want. So, and this can be a sports layout or a board game night, and still use Wanna Play. And I'm gonna pop the center out of my A here. And so this is a little tedious, so I'm going to cut the video right here and speed this up. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit more washi tape to the layout, and just to make it look like the photos are taped down. And if the next word on the tape is not a word that you want to use, don't worry about it. Just tear it off. You have plenty of the tape, and go to the next one. Okay. So I've added that tape, and now we're going to do some more embellishing. And all the next pieces are going to come from the waterfall flip pack. So you want to find the following pieces: the Good Times piece, the Today arrow, the 3 stars, the Memories tab, and then you're going to take the numbers here, and we're going to cut this 1, 2, 3 from the card. One of the 3x4 cards, and then from the sticker sheet, we're going to grab the circular blue camera and the Friends tab. Okay, so the Friends one, you're going to cut at an angle, or the number 1, 2, 3, you're going to cut at an angle. And you can save this piece for another project. And then the Friends tab, you're going to cut right under the scallop, so that just that scalloped edge is showing. And then you got your other piece there. So now we're going to start layering this up. So I'm going to take my Today piece here, and I'm going to add it to the My Favorite. And I'm also going to add that little camera there. And then over to this side, I'm going to add this Good Times piece layered on top of this Memories piece. I'll just take this Memories piece and put it here so it overlaps both photos, and then layer the Good Times over top of that. And then I'm going to take the 1, 2, 3 and have it coming out like it's tucked under there. Into the pocket. And then I'm going to add the Friends piece layered over it. And then the rest of the banner underneath. And cut the banner as needed so that it will fit, so that you're not overlapping your washi tape. So it looks like the banner's under the strip. And then you can go ahead and take this gray banner and layer it next to it. And then you're going to add your stars. So I'm just going to add my stars. I'll put one of them here and that little piece of washi tape right there. I'm going to put another one here, overlapping the two banners to pull them together. And then I'm going to put my third one where do I want my third one? I think I'll just layer it with this star over here. Okay, and there we have the finished page. So that completes this layout, which is the double page layout from the Capture layout kit. And I will post another video shortly showing you the single page layout. Thanks for watching.